gotta love that Oaklander, wanna see that Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Piece of heaven with our new exit on 287. We can be seen on Channel 20, that's our Channel 20. Oaklander, gotta love that Oaklander, wanna see that Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Love it! Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Oaklander, Oaklander, Oakland TV. Love it. Catch our fall season.
Good evening once again to the Oaklander. I'm your host, Al DiGiacomo. Well, it feels great to be here back behind the desk in the studio as we start the new fall season. I hope that all of you have had a fun and relaxing summer, yet still found some time to enjoy our summer guest hosts, Trish Frisbee, Ronald Thomas, and the two new stars of our fifth summer music review, Don Buchanan and Stacy Kahn. They did a wonderful job. I also want to mention a special word of thanks to Roy Mengelsdorf and the Access TV Committee and the entire municipal government of Franklin Lakes, who have allowed us TV access on weekends on TV 20 from their facility. For this, we are most grateful. Now on with the show. Our guest this evening is Professor of Finance in the School of Business and Administration at Ramapo College. He is the author of Tax-Free 2000, The Rebirth of American Liberty. He has hosted his own radio show, On the Money. He has hosted his own cable TV program, Your Dollars, Up in Smoke, and made political history in 1997 as the first third-party libertarian candidate for governor ever to be eligible for matching funds. And on August 5th, at the Pines Manor in Edison, New Jersey, announced his bid for the Senate seat of retiring Frank Lautenberg as the Republican candidate. Please welcome Dr. Murray Sabrin. Murray, thank you for being on our show once again.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Al.
It's our pleasure here. Murray, at age 52, you've achieved a considerable lot of the American dream. What was the purpose of the August 5th kickoff for the Senate?
Well, 50 years ago, from August 5th, actually August 6, 1949, my family arrived in America. My parents are the only survivors of their families from World War II. Everyone else in the family was killed during the war, either in the army or by the Nazi war machine. And my parents decided to come to America because they had family here and wanted to live in peace and freedom, having survived the horrors of World War II. And they figured coming to America, a land of freedom and opportunity, they would feel secure, their children would grow up in peace and freedom, that there'd be no knocks in the middle of the night telling them to go someplace where they may never come back from again. And a few days after we arrived, my father started working for $1 an hour in a pencil factory, and he was able to support a family of 4 until he got a better job working as a sheet metal worker, helped build Kennedy Airport when it was called Idlewild Airport in the 1950s, became an entrepreneur, owned his own taxi cab, and really lived the American dream, coming here virtually penniless and to enjoy the freedoms and opportunities that America had to offer at that time.
That's a real American homespun story there, I must say. I think a lot of people today have lost touch what it is to live in that kind of a hardship of an entire continent being in flames. You've done well in your career as in Ramapo College as being a professor of finance. Can you elaborate on some of your studies in the finance and some of your thoughts on economics?
Well, one of the reasons I wrote my book on taxes and government spending is that I was concerned where this nation was going. And what we've done in the United States is give the government more and more responsibilities, or I should say the government has taken more and more responsibilities on itself. I think in violation of the U.S. Constitution. I look at the Constitution and see what it says regarding what the federal government should be doing. And the federal government has gone beyond what the Founding Fathers envisioned for this nation, that the government should be small, maintain the peace, maintain a court system, maintain a military to protect us from foreign aggression, and not get involved in people's day-to-day affairs as they have over the past 75 years. And so I wrote this book to explain to the American people how we can downsize the federal government, have a much smaller government, get rid of cabinet departments that the founders never envisioned for the American people, and let people make decisions at the local level, whether it's in Bergen County, the state of New Jersey, any place else in the nation, reduce our taxes so we could have more money to do what we need to do through voluntary organizations, through local government organizations, and to let the people have the freedom that is promised us by the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence.
Well, right now we're in a wonderful time of prosperity, which probably started somewhere in the Reagan administration.
Sure.
There was that little dip in the beginning of the 90s, but as the internet picked up, it seems that there is no stopping the bull market, and there seems to be no shortage of the politicians to claim who's responsible for that. Actually, would you say that it is the American worker who is responsible for this?
The American worker, the American entrepreneur, and another key thing, more freedom. We've deregulated so many industries over the past 25 years under both Democratic and Republican administrations for a very simple reason. They knew the economy could not stand all this regulation that was stifling entrepreneurship. And it's amazing that since we've had this massive deregulation in the economy has been booming since the early 80s, as you said. We've only had one recession in nearly 20 years, which was really a remarkable achievement. And we have to give a lot of credit to people who said, let's deregulate, let's free up the American economy, let's give workers and entrepreneurs the opportunity to work and compete. And the American economy is the envy of the rest of the world. We have low inflation, we have low unemployment, while Europe has high unemployment. Their inflation is down, but they have staggering unemployment, 10, 12% in some countries.
Why is that?
Because they have terrible labor laws, which makes it very difficult for employers to fire people, and so therefore they don't hire people because you're basically stuck with them for life.
France and Germany. France
Absolutely.
and Germany more so than any of the other countries in Europe. Do they seem to accept this, or are they looking to break the chains of their own regulations?
Well, they still have this commitment to the welfare state in Europe, so they believe that if you're unemployed, you are entitled to all these benefits. So people have no incentive to get a job because they do get very extensive benefits not working.
But aren't they satisfied being democratic socialists?
Well, I think some of them are. Some of them feel that this is the way it is. It's always going to be this way, so let's live with it. Let's do the best we can. I don't think the American people would stand for it. I don't think the American people want to be unemployed for any length of time getting a paycheck from the government. I don't think that's the American way, the American spirit that I grew up with back in the 50s and 60s, that the purpose of being an American, or I should say the purpose of America, is that you have a land of opportunity, that whatever you want to achieve in this country, you basically have that opportunity no matter what your background is. And I think I'm a good example of that, coming here and not knowing English, learning English, getting a PhD. And so by learning the language, by participating in the economy, you can achieve as much as your skills will allow you to. Look at all the people that have dropped out of high school, have gone into various fields, whether it's Bill Gates,
Sure.
now worth $100 billion, by being a college dropout and really revolutionizing computers with Microsoft. Other people who have dropped out and have gone into the theater or the arts, gone into sports. There's so many opportunities in this nation. If people take advantage of it, they can do extremely well.
I agree. I agree. Here we are with a volunteer group of people, and we're nearing our, well, we're doing our 58th show right now. Let's shift gears a little bit here. One of your major themes is political correctness versus the American way. I'll give you the floor on that. What's your?
Well, political correctness is the notion that you cannot say things or do things without upsetting some people. I think a good example of that is the recent Supreme Court decision in the state of New Jersey telling the Boy Scouts they must accept gay scoutmasters as part of their organization. And whether you agree with gay scoutmasters or not, the organization has rules and regulations. And so the Supreme Court basically said that you can't have rules and regulations. We're going to make the rules and regulations for a private organization. Now, that's not the American way that I grew up with, that organizations have the right to set their rules and regulations as to who they want to be part of their organization. And if they feel that a person who has some sort of characteristic, namely a behavioral characteristic that they don't like, that they have the right under our Constitution not to associate with that individual. And so every organization, whatever their mission is, should have that right to determine who should be part of that organization. It's called the freedom of association.
Right. Do you know if any of the Girl Scout organizations have a male for a leader?
I don't think so. I think that would be.
I wonder if they would stand for it.
I don't think that from a cultural and from, I think, a psychological point of view, you would like to see Girl Scouts be with other women to have them as their role model. Now, it's true that there are some men that I think probably are coaches of Little League, Little League baseball teams or soccer teams. That's fine. But when you're talking about an organization that has very strict guidelines, it's up to that organization to set the rules, not the state Supreme Court.
Very true, very true. There's a lot of things that that befuddle me that come from the Supreme Court, and we're all human too. So
well, this is part of the political correct agenda, namely that you must accept everyone in your organization, and if you don't, that you're somehow committing a grave injustice, and therefore you must be punished. In this case, you're punished by not having the rules and regulations that you've established enforced. And so what that does, I believe, it sets up conflict in society, because other states have ruled that the Boy Scouts do have that right. And so now this is going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they will make the final determination.
It seems that we have to, it seems one end of the political spectrum wants everybody to be open, and I have no problem with, I don't think anybody would have a problem with just being live and let live.
Absolutely.
And it seems that when you tell people that you can't do something, it seems that they want to do it. Do you think that, where do the members of the Supreme Court derive their opinions from? Obviously, they're learned people, but their political appointees aren't they?
Yeah, there's been a major shift in our culture from when I was growing up in the 50s and 60s. That back then it was basically the organizations would allow you to establish your rules and regulations. And so when people didn't like those rules, they would sue. And then what happened is that now you get legislation which forces organization to accept rules and regulations, not that they set up as voluntary associations, but the rules and regulations that the state establishes. This is a major shift in what America is all about.
Wouldn't you say this is social engineering?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't want to be part of an organization that doesn't want to have me for whatever reason, whatever characteristic I have that they don't like. I would not want to support an organization with my dollars, forcing my dollars upon them. I think it would be silly to support an organization that doesn't like me for whatever characteristic I have.
Do you think it's because of the letting it all hang out from the 60s, where even now in political campaigns you are demonized? People watching the show tonight may go, he's a Republican. Some people will go, he's a Democrat. And other people go, I really don't care one way or another. But this is all demonization also, that all Republicans want to starve people and all Democrats want to spend all your money. Is this helping the process? If we're all supposed to get along, how come it's still okay for the two major political parties to demonize each other?
Well, here's what I think has happened over the years, is that people have found out that if they want to get something and they can't get it in the marketplace, the free marketplace, they will then go to the government to try to get a special program on their behalf. And it doesn't matter what organization it is. It could be an organization that's affiliated with the Republicans or the Democrats. And so I'm running as a Republican because I deeply believe in the values that the Republican Party espoused when I first joined the party 30 years ago and left after I realized that they really weren't that serious. But I think there's a new generation of Republicans coming up through the ranks, people who are younger than I am or my age, who are really tired of the government dictating to them and really want to live that let and let live philosophy. And I think there are a lot of people in the Democratic Party that believe that also. And now it's a matter of getting them all together to look at the laws that we have in this country and say, which are the good laws and which are the bad laws, and let's throw out the bad laws because it's not helping anybody, it's causing conflict in our society.
Do you think things like the hate speech or bias crimes, aren't these crimes already against the law on the books by their very nature?
Well, I don't know if there's a love crime, because the opposite of a hate crime would be a love crime, and there's no such thing as a love crime, so there can't be such a thing as a hate crime. All crimes are crimes of hate. No criminal loves the person that they're victimizing and saying, I love you, but let me rob you in the meantime.
Well, he loves that they're the victim.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's no such thing as a hate crime. All crimes are hateful because they're either after your property, your person, or your money. And so therefore, let's get rid of this notion of a hate crime. All crimes should be punished severely, quickly. The person who are committing the crime should be apprehended as quickly as possible. And if people know that they will be punished severely and for long sentences, I think we could reduce crime more than it's already been reduced in the past several
Crime is
years.
almost at its lowest point in 25 years.
Well, there's a demographic cycle to crime because the people who commit the crimes are basically 16 to 25, and there's very few of those people relative to the rest of the population. The people who are 16 to 25 are older, they may have families, they may be working, they don't want to be victims either. So
the good economy must play into that
absolutely,
also.
absolutely. There's no question about that.
Do you think that some of these bias and hate crime laws that are enacted in a legislative process are to prop up someone who's looking for political gain, trying to aspire to a higher office? And what effect could this snowball as far as to our constitutional freedoms?
Well, it's basically trying to read the minds of the criminal. The fact that they've acted illegally should be enough rather than trying to find out what is their psychological motivation for committing a crime. What's the difference what their psychological motivation is, whether they're hateful or not hateful or neutral, or they were have something in their background that is bothering them. The point is they've committed an act that is aggressive against somebody else, and they should be punished for that, and leave it at that.
Now, there's a lot of other things that are on the internet. I love WorldNet Daily, one of my favorite websites. The issues of the ever-intrusive government Big Brother data banks, the banking law, where they were just trying to accumulate as much information on your habits, how much cash you take out, how much money you have, things like that. What is the Sabrin message for those who are concerned about maybe the loss of privacy?
Well, the interesting thing about it, there was a coalition of Republicans and Democrats to defeat this right-to-know law that was bill that was going through the Congress. And this shows you that there's common ground between Republicans and Democrats when the issue is very clear, namely your fundamental rights as an American citizen. And that's why I think we have to work together as Republicans and Democrats to do the right thing and not try to, as you pointed out earlier, demonize each other because of a particular viewpoint that we have. And my viewpoint is very simple. It's the Constitution of the United States that has to be defended. When you're a member of Congress, you take an oath to defend the Constitution, not as a Republican, as a Democrat, but as an American citizen.
Seems to be greatly ignored. But speaking about the Constitution here, it seems that there's some very simple guidelines that we could live by. And if everybody kind of fit into that, there'd be a lot less divisiveness.
Sure.
One of the themes that has been going absolutely dominated the news is these tragic and horrific shootings this year. And many people are ready to knock down doors and total gun bans, and that means knocking on doors. There's over 280 million guns in this country. How can we preserve the rights of your property and of personal protection when people who own guns are demonized? One day, will the people who are against guns be demonized to the point where there's a lynch mob to the people who wish to own a gun?
The Second Amendment is there for a very specific purpose. The founders understood that free people must be able to defend themselves from not only criminals, but potentially a tyrannical government. Now, people say, well, how can we have a tyrannical government in the United States? Well, no one knows what America is going to look like 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now. So no one can guarantee that there won't be a dictatorship in America somewhere in the future. So in a way, the Second Amendment is the people's insurance policy against somebody who may decide to one day say, we shouldn't have any civil liberties in the United States, and therefore we're going to confiscate all the guns or make sure that people are nothing but serfs of the federal government. Having said that, there's a problem with guns in the wrong hands, and therefore we have to get the guns out of the hands of criminals and make sure they don't have guns in the first place. That's something the local governments and state governments should be doing, not the federal government. The federal government has no responsibility.
And how might that happen? I mean, would they knock down the doors of a gang apartment and have an unlawful search?
Well, no. People commit drunken driving deaths every single day. We don't check at liquor stores whether people are going to take that bottle of liquor or a six-pack of beer and then go out and drink and commit a drunken driving act. What we need to do is get the guns out of hands of people who are felons, who are on parole now, who've served their time, make sure they don't have any guns because they can't be trusted because they've already demonstrated that they engage in criminal behavior. And the rest is that we make sure we have good police protection at the local level, police patrolling the streets. And the other thing we should do is teach young people that if they commit a crime, they're going to spend a lot of their future in prison, especially if they use a gun and wound somebody in the commission of a crime. I think we can make the case that you could spend 30, 40 years or more in jail if you use a gun in the commission of a crime. That will send a powerful signal to young people. Don't do it. If you do, there'll be severe consequences.
Now, there's some people who actually think that it would never happen here, or that there's less crime in other countries. But when you really see through that, Britain's crime is increasing, so is Australia. And even today, I believe in California, they're calling for the confiscation of the weapons that people legally and voluntarily registered in the late 80s. And now they've been turned into virtual criminals because they're asked to give up their property. Do you think that any of the new laws that they're debating now, which is also another point of political positioning, do you think it would help anything?
Well, this is, again, people using a tragedy in California or Colorado or Atlanta to make a political statement rather than trying to solve the problem. The way you solve the problem is, like I said, you get the guns out of the hands of people who were in prison. Other than that, you just hope and pray for the best and have good policing, so when someone does commit an act of violence, they're apprehended quickly and punished swiftly. There are so many guns in this country, and yet we have very little crime relative to the number of guns in this country. Yet 60 people are killed each day because of drunken drivers on our highways, and yet people are not saying, let's have checks at the car dealer to make sure the buyer of the next car is not going to be a drunken driver.
Or a 3-day waiting period for a six-pack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a world where there is risk. The thing is, we're trying to minimize it. What the gun control people, and we have a lot of gun control in this country. In New Jersey, it's very difficult to get a gun.
Absolutely.
We have to send a signal to potential criminals that you will be severely punished if you engage in criminal violent acts.
There seems to be a larger umbrella on this. If you go to the UN, you'll see the gun with the barrel twisted over there. We've heard the president talk about until we can be one world. It seems to be that there's that big brother, that one world kind of, Europe is more or less melting into one now. Economics, the world economy is all melting into one. It sounds good, but doesn't that endanger our national sovereignty?
Oh, absolutely. Free trade is wonderful because that allows us to get the best possible products at the lowest prices. We have free trade among the 50 states, and it works quite well. If we have free trade around the world, we'll be able to get lower price goods. We'll be able to sell our goods overseas, and everyone will benefit. It's a win-win situation. The problem is, politically, we're meddling all over the world. We have troops in 80, 90 countries around the world. I don't see anything in the Constitution which authorizes the United States government to have troops all over the world. The American military is to protect the American people around the United States.
Are they protecting American interests?
Well, I don't know what American interests are in a lot of these third world countries.
I would think it's exploiting their resources and getting cheap labor for
free
business.
trade is going to make sure that we get goods at good prices. We don't need the American military there to make sure we have access to products, because these countries want to sell us their products. Otherwise, they starve to death, because that's how they earn money to buy the things that they need. It's called the division of labor and specialization. It's worked for 200 years, and it'll continue to work as long as the politicians keep their hands out of it.
That's boy, that sounds like a real lofty thing to happen there coming out of Washington. Your positions are mainly to the right. What are your thoughts on the playing fields of the Clintons and Al Gore and our two present U.S. senators?
Well, the Clintons demonstrated very clearly what their agenda is. If you listen very carefully to Bill Clinton's State of the Union address this past January, he basically outlined an America that's going to look like Sweden. More government spending, more cradle-to-grave types of programs. Now he wants prescription drugs for senior citizens. These are things that people should be doing privately, using whatever insurance policies they can obtain, so we can have people getting the things that they want without the government giving us a program that starts off very low in cost and then escalates, just as all these government programs have done over the years. They all started off very small, promised they're going to solve a problem, and yet they've escalated into the cost of hundreds of billions of dollars.
I have nothing against the pharmaceutical companies. I think they do wonderful jobs, but elderly people have a severe problem with over medication and drug reactions. And some of these drugs actually cause people to go into psychotic states and become extremely violent.
Well,
and there's no studies on these.
Well, I recently read that 100,000 people a year die from prescription drugs because
very
of interactions.
Very conservative.
And so that's a real concern, that there's a major problem in this country of over-medication. And I think people have to be very careful as to the types of medications they take, because sometimes they're going to one doctor for one prescription and another doctor for another, and they don't know what they're taking, or the doctors don't know what the patient is taking, and before you know it, you get an interaction, and people can get severely ill or even die.
Basically, I would think that you're a very open, free market type of person. Any thoughts on how to rein high costs of health care in?
Well, I firmly believe that we're going away from the doctor-patient relationship, and what's going to give us back the doctor-patient relationship is medical savings accounts. The purpose of insurance is to protect you against a catastrophic loss. With a medical savings account, you will have a deductible that you decide, $500, $1,000, whatever you feel comfortable with, and you will be able to pay all your major medical bills through your insurance carrier, rather than these day-to-day expenses that you have to go to a doctor to have a visit because you have an earache or something like that.
If you put say $2,500 into or $3,000 into a flexible spending account, if you did not spend that money, do you get the money back?
Absolutely. See, that's the beauty of a medical savings account. You roll over that money. Right now, when you pay your insurance premium, or your employer does, you lose that money because
because
you're paying a very high premium. Yes. And if you don't use it, you lose it. With the medical savings account, the beauty of it is you maintain the money that you don't use from one year to the next. So by the time you retire, if you've been healthy all your life, you have a lot of money in that account that could pay your health care needs when you are retired.
Great. Well, the last remaining couple of minutes that we have, Murray, kind of sum up what a Sabrin Senate would bring in the first 30 days of being the next New Jersey senator.
We need to reduce taxes dramatically. The American people, particularly the people of New Jersey, are paying very high taxes and getting very little return for their dollars from Washington. The point is, I don't want to go to Washington to beg to get our money back. I want to demand that we get our money back by lowering taxes. I think the progressive income tax hurts people in New Jersey particularly. I think we should get rid of the progressive income tax. We should get rid of the estate tax, which hurts middle income people in New Jersey and of course upper income people. We need to downsize the federal government by getting rid of the departments of energy, education, interior, commerce, and let the American people do what they need to do at the local level instead of waiting for all these mandates out of Washington, D.C. I think we need to eliminate all these politically correct programs. Affirmative action is a program that is dividing our country among regions, among class, among race, among ethnicity. We need to have an America where we have equal opportunity, where nobody gets privileges from the federal government, and have an America that the founders envisioned of equal justice under the law for everybody, and low taxes, low spending, and people will enjoy their lives, and we would have less conflict in America. Right now we have tremendous conflict because people have learned to use the government for their own personal special interests.
Murray, do me a favor. When you get yourself elected there, invigorate the mass. Get the people to use their brain power to express their love and their caring for their neighbor here, and we'll pick this country right back up.
Well, people can do that by going to our website, murraysabrin.com, www.murraysabrin.com. They can find out what the campaign is all about. They can become a volunteer if they're interested, or just contact us. And we'll be out there campaigning till June of 2000 when the primary occurs.
Good luck, Murray. Thank you so much for coming down here.
Thank you, Al.
Okay, we have thanked Murray Sabrin here. He's off on the campaign trail to talk about the issues of the day, and I hope you'll become our senator and you'll come back and talk to us again, and we'll return with our musical guests after these public service messages. Please stay with us.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
emergency, doctors you've never met will have only moments to make decisions about your care. They'll need information quickly, your conditions, allergies, medications, physician and family contacts. But you may be unconscious or in so much pain that you can't recall critical details, and the risk of complications can increase significantly. Medic Alert provides this information within seconds. Help us help you by wearing the Medic Alert emblem. Call now for free information.
Welcome back to the Oaklander as we enter into our musical segment of our show here. It's a real pleasure to have these two friends of mine, which I've known for the better part of 26 years. Steve and I met in my first office job in 1973 and found similar musical tastes in guitar, and we started playing at parties and together and stuff. And one day, Steve was surfing the channels, recently moved to Wyckoff, and saw the Oaklander and said, hey, I got to give my old buddy a call here. So they're here. They're going to play some old favorites of mine, Steve Jordan and Marck McNutt. Steve, what are you going to be playing with us tonight with?
This is an original song called The Aspen Dream.
I remember that.
Sure.
Goes back to our cross-country trip in 76, huh?
Our bicentennial celebration,
That's right. This will bring us back to El Dorado Canyon. And
True.
so you guys have been playing for how long, Mark?
It's going to be 25 years, I guess, although only and getting paid, right, for about 15 years.
Right.
But it started way back when, you know.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, this is the first time you guys ever done any television?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, yeah.
Great, great. Well, here we are with Steve Jordan and Marck McNutt doing The Aspen Dream.
Okay.
Knock 'em dead, guys.
Here we go, Mark. Ready? Somewhere the campfire is touching the starlight, the aspen dream in the wind, lighting my pipe in the ghost of the moon. I'm wondering if she knows where I've been. Where does the spirit go in search for solitude? I get religion when the sunset hits the mountains, and me and my guitar complete the mood. Since I was a child, I've always had corners, yet I've always had my dreams. Walking the ridge of North Cheyenne Canyon, is life just the way it seems? Well, I see autumn falling, and I feel the mountain touch. Would that I held it in the palms of my hands, this earth I love so much. Let me hear you, Mark. and me and my guitar complete the mood. I keep throwing these rocks down into the water, but the water lifts above the stones. Life is yours in the midst of your surroundings, and in the secret you're gonna call your own.
Hey, that was wonderful, guys.
Thank you.
Great, great. Well, Steve, what have you been doing the past 25 years with the guitar?
When I was in college, I needed a part-time job, and I used to ask around people what did they do, and they were doing all these boring jobs that I didn't want to do. And people for years had told me, you know, you should play out and make money at that. And I was always leery of doing that, but I made a commitment to myself to do it, and I started doing it. And I was this rarity, this college student with some money in my pocket. And after doing that for 10 years, I approached Mark and asked him to play out with me again. And
Originally, we were living together. That's how we started playing.
The old house in Paramus?
Yeah.
right.
Right, yeah.
And we used to play music there all the time. But when I started playing out, he wasn't available at the time, but 10 years later he was. So we've been doing it for the past 15. And even though some of the music is dated, they don't mind.
Well, I love hearing original music here on the Oaklander. That's what we're here for, is to really
Promote it.
That's the word, Steve. Promote original talent here. What might we hear next, guys?
This is an original called Going to the City.
Well then, let's go to the city, guys.
Okay. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I'm going to the city. I got to get away. Yeah, I'm going to the city. I got to get away. Well, the suburban life has got me down today. I'll probably eat at a restaurant and I'm taking a show. I'll probably eat at a restaurant and then I'm probably taking a show. And kick my shoes off in my seat, 'cause baby, anything goes. Well, I went up in the country, but I found it was dark. Yeah, I couldn't decide too many places to park. There were grizzly bears and wildcats and mosquitoes too. When you don't feel safe, not like down in the zoo. But a city-minded boy, tell me, what's he supposed to do? Let me hear you, Mark. Yeah, I'm going to the city. I'm going to socialize. Yeah, I'm going to the city. I'm going to socialize with those who burn the midnight oil until sunrise. Well, I'm going to the city. I got to get away. Yeah, I'm going to the city. I got to get away. That's this old cafe. Okay,
Well, we're doing all right on time there. You think we got time enough for another short one?
we weren't planning on it, but yeah, we could do another short one.
Wouldn't be able to do that old one from the studio, which is, Mark,
He knows it to a degree, yeah.
well,
Me and my lady.
one of my favorites.
Can I explain why?
Very quickly.
Yeah, this is I had the music down here and I needed some lyrics, so I called this old friend of mine. His name was what was his name, Mark?
The TV guy.
The TV guy,
Yeah.
Al DiGiacomo. And he put the words to it. So this
20
is
minutes.
right?
Okay, we're short on timing.
Here we go.
Have a good time, guys.
Me and my lady need some rest in the sun. Walk barefoot on the beach, feel the reason. Me and my lady will always get along. Hearing the sounds of a peaceful sea, she sings a love song. I know my love's and I know her love is here to stay. And I know our love will last forever. Like the waves, she'll never go away. Me and my lady, sweet lady me. Blue skies and sandy shores, sweet lady me. Me and my lady will always live without each other's love and company to smile away the clouds. Me and my lady will always get along. Hearing the sounds of the peaceful sea, she sings a love song. I know my love is everything, and I know her love is here to stay. And I know our love will last forever. Like the waves, she'll never go away. Me and my lady, sweet lady me. Blue skies and sandy shores, sweet lady me. Thank you always for that, Al.
Ready? What's going on? Here's Palm's working? All right, we got
myself by
palm.
7 points.
How about over here? Anything? What's going on over here?
I can't seem to get this thing going.
All right.
Try how this thing works. Try the Q. Try the one that says Q.
It's a little crazy tonight in the control room,
Okay, all right.
but believe me, we have everything under control. We're fine.
Kudos.
I just want to let you know that right now we're going to show you a video that Al and his wife Elizabeth
Come in,
did. It's
Mr.
called
Bond.
What I Did for My Summer Vacation. So
Mr.
let's
Bond.
check it out.
Come in. After I give her all she's got, she won't take no more. I can't reach.
Welcome to what I did on my summer vacation. After 5 years and over 75 shows, I decided to take a summer break. You know, spend some time with my wife Elizabeth, visit with friends and family in faraway places, even winding up in places I've never even been. In fact, when the temperatures reached almost unbearable, we got down, really down, at the Sterling Mine in Ogdensburg, New Jersey.
too much longer. I've seen a couple other folks coming down the steps.
Close the door. This is a 90-foot area in early stage. Could not use the cement slurry. That's in the dictionary also. Took care of operations below the 2,000-foot level. It's off. With the equipment they had here, they could go out max of about 220 feet. Let's call that a line drive double down the left field line at Yankee Stadium. 290. One, please. Okay, the red is the Franklin flag. No wash off. Green and red together are called the Christmas tree flag.
Hi. Is it picking up my sound?
Sure.
Okay. Glad
I
to
wanted
be
to,
here.
I wanted to get a visit from Mom and Dad. Let's get a close-up of those. They live in the retirement capital of the world. And that hair. Now, who picked the color out? Did you or Antoinette?
Antoinette wanted me to look a lot younger. She didn't want me to have all this gray hair on my head, so it'll come off in about 3 or 4 more shampoos.
Oh.
That's a close-up.
Yeah, that's
camcorder.
Automatically drains. Then we visit my sister and family in Virginia Beach.
Done, you can pretty much assume that they've gotten up to the required death temperature for heat.
My mother also too.
Like that.
I'm not quite sure. It's you. What you're going to do is we're going to make it.
Choice. I mean, Tommy is in basically an indoor hat by choice. If he wants to. What?
Squaw, it can't be guava.
No. And on the way home, we stopped in at Lyle and Marianne's farm. Marianne is Elle's sister, and Lyle's a real farmer with thousands of acres on the eastern shore. And that's Lyle's son, Lyle David. I have a great time putting the audio sound good. August summer review together with Don and Stacy. Two young, perhaps naive people. Keep it rolling. Bloopers. You got to make them to use them. Two young, perhaps naive people driving the Oaklander highway on a hot August day. Who will they see? What will they hear? Oh, you guys are really...
I switched it off by accident or just right when you said the F word. It would have been like...
You need a ride? Oi! Do you need a ride? Oh. Okay.
Window up.
Poetry from Jem Finocchi.
You do it one more time, just the producers would like to thank these brave... the producers... And what can I say about the 4th of July, Oakland Day?
You'll be so lonely you could die.
I'm the happiest man in the world.
You're the happiest man on the face of the earth?
The face of the earth.
You sound like a Yankee.
Huh?
You sound like a Yankee. You sound like Lou Gehrig.
I remember those days. Lou Gehrig, Joe D, Babe Ruth.
I'm an Ed Crane pool guy.
I remember him too.
This is the hottest ride out here today.
It looked like the Scrambler or the Octopus and stuff.
Yeah, similar. Yeah.
But this one's green.
Green, yeah, green.
You know? I noticed you got people on there. I mean, did you ever give the people like a real scare ride or something like that?
Yeah, I turn off all the lights, make some smoke come out from the fog machines, the strobe lights all at once. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man.
You gotta see it at
That
night.
must get them.
Yeah, only when I'm in a dark area though, like this.
Well, that's great, man. Hey, you take care of the kids, you have fun. Away from home, be home at like 11 or 12 at night. Do it again. That we could not resist the signs for the 100-foot waterfall at Secret Caverns. By this time, Elle and I were becoming quite comfortable being underground.
Pieces of art. Did this guy sign them?
No, I know. It's a secret. It's a secret.
Walk this.
You said box are closed, and they did that one.
Yes, you are.
I don't have to hit him yet.
And out of the dark comes the light, as Elle tended to the summer flowers and painted the motel chairs. said it, folks. Honest. Then it's back cavern hunting at Lost River Caverns.
I gotta shoot that, if that's where we're going.
Like it's really nice.
You know when they hang them up from? They're truly some of the natural wonders of nature. Real summer to stop and smell the cattails. Now we spend our summer vacation. Time has come to start preparing for the possibility of an Oaklander New Year's Eve party. Yeah, and we can call it 1999, last night. As we close the program tonight, I'd like to invite those of you out there who have been missing the Vocal View column by Carolyn Karg in the Suburban News these past few weeks, invite you to, if you're online, to go to www.oakland-nj.org, and you can read the Vocal View column there. Also, if you would like to receive a copy of the Vocal View in the mail, you can get on the mailing list by calling 337-1006, and you can give your information to Carolyn there, and she'd be happy to send you a copy of this newsletter. So those who are interested in joining our TV Access group, that's right, it's the annual OK TV recruitment drive to learn TV production right here in Oakland. We're a volunteer video group, and we're always in need of some fresh talent. So I hope that you or someone you know would like to be part of a fun bunch of video makers. Please call us today. Our contact page will be up at the end of the show. I'd like to thank tonight's guests, Dr. Murray Sabrin, my friends Steve Jordan and Marck McNutt, and to the great vacation of 1999 with my wife, Elizabeth. My big thanks to the OK TV crew who make it all happen behind the scenes. And as always, thank you for watching The Oaklander. I'm Al DiGiacomo, and don't forget, save the water.